Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 8th, 2025 Local City Council regular session. I would like to call it to order. This council meeting can be viewed at the city's YouTube channel or at longmontpublicmedia.org/watch. It can also be viewed on channels 8, Comcast channels 8 or 880. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Peck.
Here.
Councilmember Christ.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Faring.
Here.
Councilmember McCoy.
Present.
Councilmember Popkin. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder to the public, in accordance with Council's rules of procedure, the rules for providing public comment are as follows. Only Longmont residents and employees of the City of Longmont may speak during the first call public invited to be heard. You must provide your address on the sign-up sheet before the meeting, or I will not call your name. Each speaker is limited 3 minutes, and we need your name and address. Anyone may speak on second reading or public hearing item, but you are asked to add your name to the speaker list for that specific item before the meeting. Anyone may speak during final call public invited to be heard. Members of the audience shall refrain from disruptive, vulgar, or abusive language, applause, heckling, or other actions that interfere with the orderly function of the council. May I have a motion for the March 25th regular session minutes?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Just wanted to flag, I think there was either a erroneous copy and paste or just a different motion. So under 9A, so that would be,
9A?
yeah, so that's page 3 of the minutes, I believe.
Oh, on the minutes, okay.
Yeah.
What are you referring to?
So unless that's referring to all of them, but it's something about how it's ordered here. So we're talking about the consent agenda, and the motion that I made, which was seconded by Councilwoman Christ, was to approve the consent agenda except for items B, D, E, and F. Does that appropriately fall after 9A, or is that in a different part of the consent agenda discussion?
Hold on, let me check that out. Do you have any comments on that, Dawn or Michelle?
The way the minute system captures the motions should show every item on consent that passed. There's a motion that falls under each item.
Correct.
Right.
The same motion for those that passed, and the items that were removed from consent then show the discussion and whatever motion pertained
so
to that item itself.
Because this was approving A and C, it's moving those two forward except for B, D, E, and F.
Except for B, D,
And
E,
so that's
and
why
F.
those are consistent and it's applied to that. Okay, then I have no correction there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any other discussions? Nope, let's vote then. Can you see my vote tonight?
I don't see a vote from you, Mayor.
That's amazing. I see it.
Are you a yay?
I am a yay. So that passes unanimously. We are now at agenda revisions and submission of documents.
No.
Oh, it's for you?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Do we have any agenda revisions
We do not, Mayor.
or submissions of documents? We don't have anything.
Nothing? Nope.
Okay. Are there any motions from counselors to put on future agendas? Shoot, this didn't. So I do have a motion. It's not really to put on any future document, but I would like to move that council approve the letter of support for PRPI that I sent out earlier. And if I get a second, then I will explain what that is all about.
I'll second that.
Okay, so the discussion, that was moved by myself, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Faring, and we will vote on it in just a bit. The reason that I sent out this letter, and if anybody wants one, there is a copy at the end of from the city clerk. PRPA, Platte River Power Authority, is going to have a hearing at the Larimer County, with the Larimer County Commissioners on April 21st. This hearing is to be able to ask the Larimer County Commissioners to submit or give approval for the permits that will be located on Platte River Power Authority land in Larimer County. PRPA owns the land, but they need to go to the county commissioners to make sure that what they want to do to put the aeroderivative turbines on their own land, that it complies with the land use policy of the county. They are being sued. The Larimer County commissioners are being sued by an environmental group in the northern part of our state, Fort Collins in particular, because they do not want the aeroderivative turbines to be placed there. They don't want them at all at PRPA. This has been an ongoing discussion for, I would say, 3 years, and now they're suing Platte River Power Authority. Hold on, I will continue. So, Platte River Power Authority is going to the hearing. I am going to testify for Platte River Power Authority. The aeroderivative turbines have been purchased for redundancy. I hope you all understand this. We've talked about it many times. By redundancy, I mean that if there is not enough renewable energy on the grid from the power pool that we belong to, then we will power up the turbines, which are gas propelled, to fill in the blanks so we don't have blackouts. It's for redundancy. They will only be used if there is not enough natural energy to put on the grid or that we can buy from other utility companies. What this group wants, we have peakers now. They're called peakers because they do the same thing. If you don't have enough energy, then you can put these peakers on, and they're also run by gas. And the problem is they're very old, and they work with our coal. They don't work with anything else. So the environmental group wants us to continue to use the peakers. The problem is they take about 20 minutes to fire up. So if you need them immediately, so you don't have blackouts, they're not going to work. If we use the peakers, that means we can't get rid of the coal, and we won't meet our 2030, 2035 goals. So that's what that's about. And there was a proclamation that Platte River Power Authority put out for the Larimer County Commissioners explaining all of this. We need, in order for us to vote on that proclamation, each of the 4 cities has to vote on it. If we put it on our agenda, it won't come up to vote on until April 22nd. But I'm testifying April 21st. So it's too late. So I asked PRPA if it would be okay if Longmont submitted a letter of support for the resolution so we can get it done immediately. So that is my motion. Do you agree that we support the resolution. The letter says everything the resolution did. But we don't need to vote on we don't need to put it on another agenda. The resolution, we would have to, and then bring it back and vote on it. We don't have time. So we're doing the letter of support tonight. I'm going to open it up for discussion now from the council and see what you think before we vote. Does it make any difference?
Yeah, there he is. I was waiting on you.
Yeah, I was waiting on Matthew. I think I know what you're going to say, though, Matthew.
Mayor, we talked about, thank you, Mayor Peck, for that context there. We talked about this when I had a question for you, and I wanted to just clarify. Again, I'm speaking out of somewhat ignorance here as a relatively new member of this body. How often is it, or how common is it, that one city comments on another county or jurisdiction's land use approval process?
You know, we're not really, we are not, how do I say this? We are commenting on it as Platte River Power Authority
As an owner.
owner of that utility. We are not commenting on it as the city of Longmont necessarily. Well, we are in the context that we own the utility.
I think I understand what you're saying. You're saying we're commenting on this as an owner
Yes.
of the entity that is seeking the permit, not
Exactly.
as a jurisdiction trying to inherently change or sway, or, I mean, we are, but sway another jurisdiction's land use decisions.
Exactly. What we are really doing is saying that the only thing that Larimer County has to decide, just like us when we have an appeal on planning and zoning, we don't have to listen to, do you agree with what we're doing? Would you like us to do that power a different way? None of that is important, because as the board, we already adopted that. All we need to ask is our land that we own in Larimer County follow your land use policy? And if it does, will you grant us the permit to put it there?
Gotcha. Thank you. That's helpful clarification. Just to build on the context that you shared, so just on a couple numerical bases on facts on this. So the integrated resource plan from PRPA, the plan that they are seeking this land use permit to, sorry, let me rephrase this. The turbines that they are seeking to build on the land that they're seeking the permit for
Correct.
are to help enable about 1.5 gigawatts of solar and wind renewable energy by 2043. They are effectively up to, I believe, 200 megawatts of this aeroderivative turbines, which
Correct.
currently, under the current market conditions, would be fueled by natural gas, with the potential that they would be hydrogen capable.
Correct.
Should or when Platte River Power Authority make the decision to purchase hydrogen instead, or when that becomes when that fuel becomes more commercially viable.
Correct.
It would also enable, I think, about 450, I'm racking my memory here, about 450 megawatts of energy storage that is, or dispatchable energy storage that is renewable
Correct.
powered. Overall, I think that type of baseload dispatchable support is often what I've seen some utilities are kind of relying on to help enable very high penetration of renewable energy.
Correct.
I'm in a little tricky spot here because I looked at the integrated resource plan when I was not on council,
I know.
and not in a council capacity, and I don't believe I saw that the plan that they're pursuing is inherently justified to be as optimal. In that, it doesn't mean it's inherently flawed either, but I didn't see a clear justification as to why that 200 megawatt threshold for the aeroderivative turbines was optimal.
And that is not what we're voting on.
I understand. So I know that's not what we're voting on, but what we are voting on is the permit that would allow them to do exactly that amount. So I feel like I don't know if I can support this in this moment because I disagree with the overall strategy at an optimization level, not from a principle of the baseload generation, baseload dispatchable supporting the renewable build out.
So you're saying that you do not want to vote for us to be able to use our land under the Larimer County land use codes? Because that is the question.
Use
It's
the
not
Larimer
being-
County land, right? It's our land under
We
that?
own it.
We own, PRPA owns that land.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
So
I'm
the-
saying I don't know if I can get to the support on that at this moment. I support the concept of what's trying to happen, but not the level that was proposed to build at, which is a meaningful distinction here from my perspective. The amount that they're planning to build, it's like if you were trying to build, just to make this in like housing terms, if you were trying to build 300 units of apartment versus 250, different level of threshold of what's proposed to meet what goal.
But the board,
I know we're not
no, the
debating
board
that
has accepted
approach.
this after months, if
Correct.
not years, of debate on it.
Correct.
And you did present, because I was in the meeting with you, to PRPA.
Yes.
And PRPA at the last minute, because this was one of the asks, did have INREL said that they would absolutely look at it. And they paid the $200,000 for INREL to look at this. INREL went to the meeting, the first meeting of the Larimer County. They didn't go to it, they looked at it on film. And they decided it was so contentious, they didn't want anything to do with it. So it wasn't that we did not want INREL, which was what the environmentalists were asking us for. So, because regardless of where they came out on the decision, it would look like one or the other groups bought their vote, their decision, and they're not going to put themselves in that position. So I think that they're probably going to give the permit. I just feel sad that the board of 4 cities voted for this after many discussions with a lot of consideration and a lot of environmental groups coming and talking to us, that we're not going to get a unanimous vote. But that's okay, you do have the right. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. That was actually hitting on the question I was going to ask you was, do all of the cities already have unanimous support amongst their city council members?
Yes, they do.
It's very surprising considering the craziness that's going on in some of the cities that are our partners in this as far as their city councils are concerned. At the end of the day, though, majority vote would be support regardless of unanimity.
Exactly.
And so is it really that big of an obstacle for us to just take the vote and
No,
go
it's
forward?
fine, it's fine, but I did want to give my opinion since Councilor Popkin.
No, understood.
this.
I was just,
So
I just, like I said, find it surprising that there's unanimity specifically in the most northern neighbor, not most northern, the most adjacent northern neighbor in the ownership group. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, let's vote. I'm a yay. And that carries 6-1 with Councilor Popkin opposing. Thank you, everyone. Now we are at the city manager's report.
No report, Mayor, Council.
All right, we have 3 special reports or presentations. They're actually 3 proclamations. The first one is Earth Day. It's a proclamation designating April 22nd, 2025 as Earth Day in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas Earth Day is an active embodiment of our commitment to ensure everyone has a right to clean air, clean water, and healthy lands for current and future generations. And whereas the citizens of Longmont recognize the importance of sustainability, climate action, and environmental stewardship in enhancing our quality of life. And whereas Earth Day fosters community engagement among individuals, neighborhood associations, schools, nonprofits, businesses, and the city through educational programs, sustainability initiatives, and local action. And whereas Longmont is committed to advancing renewable energy, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and promoting responsible resource use to ensure a thriving and resilient community. Now, therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2025 as Earth Day in Longmont and encourage all residents to celebrate and participate in efforts that promote a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable world. And I see all the green Earth Day shirts out there. So who can I present this to? Well, of course. But if you would like to make a statement first, or perhaps tell us about your,
Invite everyone to come to Earth Day, April 19th.
do you want to tell us where it's going to be? And
There you go.
you're fine.
Thank you. Yes, Sustainable Resilient Longmont wants to invite all the residents of Longmont to come to Earth Day celebration. It's our 11th annual Earth Day celebration, and it's going to be Saturday, April 19th at Timberline PK through 8 School from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m.
Great, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Yes, a picture, please.
Come on over here in front of me, stand in front of the logo. Yeah, and it's usually best kind of right up one
Yeah, I don't see you in person. So
So, such a good point. You need to like double up. All right, everybody in there, let's squish in, squish in. Squish in. All right, why don't you go first?
3, 2, 1.
And my turn. You good? All right, very good.
Look forward to seeing you all.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. That is strange.
No.
Stay standing up.
Stay standing up.
Oh, that's right, I should read them from there, right? Okay. The next one is the proclamation designating the month of April 2025 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic, progressive, and neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the U.S., affecting almost 1 million people, with one person being diagnosed every 9 minutes. And whereas Parkinson's disease and related health issues are the 14th leading cause of death in the U.S., according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that the total national economic burden of Parkinson's is approximately $52 billion each year. And whereas research suggests the case of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown. There's no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure or medication to slow or halt the progression of the disease. And whereas the symptoms vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairments and dementia, mood disorders, skin problems, and sleep difficulties. Whereas researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals are working to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease. Now therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor by virtue and the authority vested in me in the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. And I just recently had a friend that was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So I think it's a horrible disease. Who would like to accept this? And let me know if you want a picture with us. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's so sad. Do you want a picture? If you do, come on down.
Yeah, can we slide down a little more? Yeah. Yeah, perfect, that'd be great. All right, let's see if I can. Oh, not quite, I'm one person off. Can we squish in just a little more? Yeah. Just a little more. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That does it, that's great. That is great. 1, 2, 3. One more. Got it, all right, very good. Thank you. Grab my sign and go.
One more. This is a proclamation designating April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas sexual violence is a serious and prevalent problem that affects many individuals and causes harm to communities. Examples include rape, incest, sexual abuse, intimate partner violence, sexual exploitation, human trafficking, unwanted sexual contact, sexual harassment, and voyeurism. And whereas statistics show that every 73 seconds a sexual assault takes place in the U.S., and 25.5 million women and 2.8 million men have reported sexual assault. And whereas 63,000 children a year were victims of sexual abuse between 2009 and 2013, and whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month gives us the opportunity to raise awareness and share information, promote safety, respect, and healthy relationships, and provide resources for all who are impacted. Now, therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. Is there someone that would like to receive? Sure, go ahead, Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I just wanted to make a brief comment here. I have no qualms with this at all, and I'm glad that we're supporting this. I just wanted to note an important distinction here, and again, not proposing any edits to the proclamation, but under the second clause you read, which stated the second part of that was 25.5 million women and 2.8 million men have reported sexual assault. It's actually important to note a distinction. In general, there's who have reported being sexually assaulted and who report sexual assault happening, because there is actually a major gap in the reporting of sexual assault happening that also hinders it probably hinders our understanding overall of the magnitude of the problem, and also just hinders the number of people that are ultimately impacted by this. So I just wanted to note that distinction because the wording kind of stood out to me there, and I'm glad that we're supporting it and helping raise awareness of that for exactly that reason.
Great.
Thank you.
And it doesn't mean that these stats don't mean that they're the only people who were sexually assaulted. It just says who reported. So who would like to receive this proclamation? Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, okay. I will definitely do that.
Sorry.
We are now at the public invited to be heard. Thank you. The first person on the list is beautiful handwriting. Do you know what this says?
Oh my. It's very flowy.
Who signed the first?
Yes,
Who was the first one
Jane.
on the list?
I catch the name, I think it's Jane in the middle, on Martin Street. L69.
Okay.
Okay.
Babette Berger. That would be a good idea.
Mayor, you'll be happy. I'm going old school this week. Hi, I'm Bobette Berger from 2196 Winding Drive. I just wanted to say that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Kind of ironic. It's set in place to raise public awareness of sexual assault and educate communities on how to prevent sexual violence. To prevent sexual violence, there are ways to address the risks. Sexual violence and assault is a problem with a lifelong harmful effect to the victims and their families. Sexual offenders need to have legal restrictions. So why are these not already in place? Longmont needs to require offenders to register and update their information with local law enforcement, which that is one thing that is being done. Longmont needs to have distance restrictions from schools, parks, and daycares. Longmont needs to have residency restrictions in place. to protect communities by keeping offenders away from potential victims. Longmont needs to set some limits on how many sexual offenders can live in one home. We do have zoning, which restricts businesses in zoned residential areas, yet Mobara's solution ignored those restrictions and came in under the radar. The public has alerted you, Mayor Peck, and you, Longmont City Council members, to these existing problems, which increase the risks for people of Longmont, and we implore you, please, to protect your constituents. You're in place for that. And we need you to take action now. Numbers are increasing in that home. Thank you.
Thank you, Babette. Connie Hamming.
My name is Connie Hamming. I reside at 2129 Winding Drive. First off, I want to thank you all for the work that you have been doing regarding the setbacks for the registered sex offenders. Last week, some of the questions and comments, especially from Mayor Peck and Councilwoman Christ, showed that you are seeing the related items for R1 zoning and how they relate to this issue. You are starting to notice that some things are not adding up. Last week, it was stated that this business was committed to transparency. I guess that's the only after they moved in, because there was nothing transparent before they moved in. They didn't notify anyone, including the city. Last week, it was emphasized that they were certified by CAR as a sober living residence. Why would someone seek a certification for something that is clearly not their primary purpose? Last week, the council mentioned that you have many other issues that need to be dealt with, and I am sure that that is true. We all have issues in our lives that we have to deal with. We also all know what it is like to have our priorities suddenly shifted. A child might get sick, an accident might happen, and all of a sudden something that needs to be done immediately has to be done then. Our priorities have shifted. Please change your priorities. See to it that the regulations in existence at the R1 zoning are either enforced or need to be amended to deal with this issue. And off my notes, I noticed that you made the proclamation this month. It would be appropriate to move ahead with this. I also noticed, based on the earlier discussion, that council has ways to move things forward quickly rather than setting them up as agenda items. Please consider this your priority. I don't want to come back. I'm sure you don't want to see me back. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Oh, one more thing. I didn't realize that someone was going to accept or not accept that proclamation. I'd like to give it to Babette, since she's been so vocal and brought this thing forward to our community, if she's willing to accept it.
Babette? Strider Benston. Strider?
I do. Strider Benston, 951 17th. The first discussion really gives, serious discussion of the complexitude of something before you know exactly what you're voting for or against. And that's cool. I think it went well. I didn't know much about that. The proclamations indicate that there is a core to our democratic society at the local level, and bringing in a lot of concerns and issues that we do need to address as a society, and I appreciate that. And I don't quote the Wall Street Journal very much. It's not my favorite newspaper, but about 3 weeks ago, they had an editorial that said, this trade war is the stupidest war or the stupidest trade war in history. And now we're dealing with the consequences of it. Other consequences, well, people voted, and 49.8% of the voters basically chose we're going to have more intense wildfires, more intense drought, more intense hurricanes. The threat on the free press, hijacking of people and sent into prisons in other countries without due process, a lot of stuff like that. But here in Longmont, Saturday, we had, I'm pretty good at estimating, I'd say 2,500 to 3,000 people on Main Street, bringing up the issues of their own concern. And one of the things was I saw at least 200 or 300 different signs of different content that were really, really serious and high quality and artistic as well. And if the people rise up and really speak, we have a chance of saving our republic, like Benjamin Franklin was asked coming out of the Constitutional Convention, September of 1787. What kind of a country do we have? A republic if we can keep it. Let's keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Strider. Anna Graves.
Mayor and members of council, my name is Anna Graves, and I live in Prairie Village South. I think you know me by now. I'm here on behalf of neighbors and parents spanning every ward of Longmont putting their children to sleep tonight. We, the parents of Longmont, are grateful for the thorough study session last week about the draft ordinance that regards residential setbacks and number of registered sex offenders in a home. Unfortunately, you weren't able to share any sort of timeline with us as to when an ordinance would be ready. You also weren't able to share any sort of timeline as to when you'll address the fact that a halfway house and a business facility is currently operating and has been operating since February in a single-family residential zone. I'm here tonight to remind you on behalf of the parents of Longmont that we are anxiously awaiting your action. A little bit ago, you announced a proclamation designating this month as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Longmont, Colorado. Should you want to drive awareness on sexual assault and prevent all of the heinous forms of sexual assault that you listed earlier from happening to Longmont's children, I ask you to please prioritize the passing of this ordinance, preventing registered sex offenders from living in such close proximity to the children of Longmont, with several registered sex offenders in a single family home that's been turned into essentially a hot spot. As it is now Sexual Assault Awareness Month, now is the time. Please appeal to the sense of urgency the parents of Longmont are begging for over a month after this issue was brought to this body. Please take action to keep the children and vulnerable populations of Longmont safe. Please ensure that yet another house that violates the safety of our children does not pop up overnight in the city we voting constituents all thought was a safe community for our families. Please move faster, rearrange your schedule before an innocent, vulnerable child is harmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Seeing no one else, well, first of all, let me see, is the person who lives at 600 Martin Street, L69 here? Okay, not seeing that person here, I'm going to close first call, public invited to be heard, and we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Dawn, would you mind reading the consent agenda into the record?
Of course, Mayor. The second reading and public hearing for ordinances introduced on this consent agenda will be held on April 22nd, 2025. Item 9A is ordinance 2025-25, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025. 9B is ordinance 2025-26, a bill for an ordinance authorizing a farmland lease agreement between the City of Longmont and J. Docha Farms LLC on the Olander property. Item 9C is Resolution 2025-19, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental grant agreement between the city and Colorado State Forest Service to fund watershed forest stewardship capacity building. 9D is Resolution 2025-20, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving an amendment to the voluntary alternative agreement for the Sugar Mill Paired Homes Development as satisfaction of the city's inclusionary housing requirements.
Thank you. Councillor Christ.
I would like to remove 9D.
Okay, would you like to make a motion then to pass?
I move consent agenda A through C.
It's been moved by Councillor Christ, seconded by Councillor McCoy, that we move the consent agenda minus item D. There we go. McCoy. Sure. Can you see me now?
Wait a minute. To approve a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Dawn, it just has it has A, but nothing else.
If you approve consent vote, I will correct.
Okay. All right, so this passes. Did everybody vote?
I have it in. There we go.
Okay. And that passes unanimously. So let's move on to the ordinance on second reading and public hearing on any matter. The first one is a bill 2025-23, a bill for an ordinance approving an economic development incentive and partnership agreement with TLC Learning Center to further childcare and childhood education opportunities for city residents and employees. Do councilors have any questions or comments? Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I very much support this overall, and I just had a couple clarifying questions here before we move forward. Excuse me. This is again coming from a place of ignorance of having not been part of previous discussions, so I just feel like I always need to qualify that. But maybe a question for Harold or other staff. I understand the intention of this. I think it's a really intriguing and innovative partnership here. Creates a lot of benefits. I guess first and foremost, can you just clarify, like sometimes there's a disconnect in the public understanding between what are kind of city benefits versus overall community or public benefits. And I think this is a good example of where some of the city benefits that are realized from this actually do spill over and impact the community in a beneficial way. So I'm wondering if you could just speak to that a little bit more.
Yes, and I'll ask Christina to come up in case I need help because she knows some of the more of the
Sure.
details. Generally, when we started this work, one of the things that the council identified in their priorities, you can see, is early child care. So we put together 2 funding sources, one that was one-time funding and another that was ongoing funding. And as we were coming off of there was the mayor's meeting on early child care that we had at the senior center. In addition, council had numerous conversations. So when we looked at the TLC project, there were a few things in place. We actually did contribute.
Christina, can you turn off that microphone? Okay.
Yeah, there. So we did contribute one-time funds to the project. We also then had the ongoing funds, which from our organization's perspective, one of the things that we were seeing is that childcare was becoming more and more important in terms of providing some alternatives for our staff because, as we've seen from applicant pools, that was a big issue. The other piece to the TLC program is it's about more than just what we're getting. It's about what they're able to provide to the community. So yes, they will have childcare services there, but one of the things that they've also built in is training facilities. So when we talk about one of our larger providers of childcare is a friends and family network or neighbor group. So they'll be able to work with some of these individuals to assist in getting them as certified childcare providers. So we're hitting 2 things. We're hitting internally for staff, and then we're hitting the broader community perspective and what they can provide in terms of training and some other services to other child care providers in our community. Did I miss anything?
Mayor Peck, members of council, Christina Pacheco, Human Services Director. Harold is correct in that it will provide resources for our friend, family, neighbor care. He talked about the first mayor summit that we had on early childhood education. We had a summit reboot in 2024 and learned that more than 60% of the children in care are with friend, family, neighbors. And so Children, Youth, and Families Division specifically has been doing a lot of work around capacity building for this population and will work closely with TLC to make sure that they have access to those resources, to that training facility.
That's excellent. And then just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, this also has kind of spillover benefits of like, from a recruitment and retention standpoint of staff and the talent that we're trying to attract to the city, right? In terms of a maybe non-compensation related benefit, and to the extent that this is, offsetting some costs of what can be an expensive household expenditure, this is also having a financial impact for the staff that we want to recruit and retain, correct?
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Popkin, correct. I think the other piece to that is that it also, the city also has an investment with Front Range Foundation, where we are working on that on that community capacity building. There is a shortage of early childhood professionals. So the city has an investment in helping to grow those within our community, a scholarship that we partner with the Front Range Community Foundation on that. So in a perfect world, we can grow those early childhood career professionals and keep them within the community through projects like this.
Great, thank you. And then my last question, we often have a couple members of the community who ask the council to explore what other options exist. Are we exploring all of our different directions that we could consider and alternatives? So I'm just curious, this seems like a very valid and strategically advantageous or beneficial thing to the city. Just curious, in the process of figuring out what partnership was optimal or what services were needed most, what other options were pursued?
Well, I'll start. I think when we look at it holistically, one of the things, so we're looking for partnerships across the board. Council may remember that when we constructed the Ascent project, which is affordable family living, that was another option that we were mindful of what we were doing here with TLC, where we partnered with Wild Plum to operate the facility at that location. So I know as we're looking at this, we're evaluating different options. One of the things that you're looking at is when you think about capacity and who can absorb what, it's finding the right option for the right size provider that exists. Christina.
Yes, correct. And we also have had other early childhood providers, after hearing about the work that we're doing at the hub and at Ascent at Hover Crossing, have also expressed interest in being a part of partnerships. So as we move forward, as Harold indicated, we can look at kind of what that right size organization and what those partnerships will look like. We know that with the many moving parts, the CCAP freeze, just the state of nonprofits that we've talked about in past meetings, that's going to be really essential, that partnership and that collaboration.
Probably the biggest factor is capacity and who can do what. So capacity is a major piece of who you partner with on what you're doing.
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, I will open up ordinance 20, or bill 2025-23 for public hearing. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on 2025-23 and ask for a motion. It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Popkin. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. Thank you. The next bill is 2025-24, an ordinance amending Title IV of the Longmont Municipal Code, amending Chapter 4.06 concerning the establishment of tourism improvement districts in the city of Longmont. Are there any questions from councilors?
Yes.
You're too fast. Councilor Christ.
Oh, you're pretty. Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I'm growing more favorable towards this ordinance. But in reading the enabling ordinance, I realize there's questions that we should answer or have prepared because it comes back to say, well, you know, the deciding on this topic is the enabling ordinance, and we haven't like chosen some things. For instance, okay, so if we could be a little more interactive, that would be helpful. The initial plan for the district shall include the following information: a name, I think we're pretty generalized on that, a purpose, a location. We do specify that it's within city boundaries. Public participation, and I did have a question from a constituent. What about short-term rentals? Had we reached out to short-term rentals? And Sarah, could I ask you to add in some of these? Because I know what we discussed over the period of time we were discussing this. I just want to make sure that it's in the record for this ordinance.
Mayor, Councilmember Chris, we early on in the discussions about farming had considered short-term rentals, but focused our discussions with our hotel partners first to get a TID off the ground and be successful. So this enabling ordinance, and then if it moves on to the next step, focuses on just hotel partners for now.
Okay, I'm looking at the council communication, and this is, I think, where the question came from, and this was back in April 8th. And it says about short-term room rental for all lodging businesses. And then it says the exceptions. And it says all lodging services provided for a period of at least 30 consecutive days are accepted. But short-term rentals would be less than 30 days. So there's the concern that short-term rentals would fall under this fee.
I mean, I would, Mayor and Councilmember Chris, and I might defer to legal counsel and legal language, but I think we made that language exception so that it wouldn't impact resident stays at accommodations for those in crisis and things like that on that exemption language. And then I also think in another part of the ordinance, we define the business as hotels or motels.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out, because I went back and forth in the pages and didn't see exactly where that was, city attorney. But we can specify that that's an exception at this juncture. I believe.
The 30-day exemption, that language?
Yeah, that short-term rentals are exempt from this. Less than 30 days is what they would be. Yeah.
I hear the ice cream truck.
No, his is not working. Oh. Okay, there we go.
Mayor and Council, Eugene May, City Attorney, just a little more force needed here. I believe the plan is in the ordinance that would create the district, that we define hotels or the businesses subject to the Tourism Improvement District fee to be 10 rooms or more. So that would take out individual short-term rentals.
Okay, have you already written that?
We do have a draft.
Okay, so you have information that we haven't seen yet. Okay.
I think we did see that.
I think that was
Did we? Yeah.
presented in an
Was it?
earlier study
Yes.
session.
Was that in the
Might have, Mayor,
Original.
Councilmember Chris, it might have been in the listening session or an open session.
Study
We
session,
presented
yeah.
both
Oh, yeah, and the zero reading.
ordinances.
Yeah.
So that would be the next step if this ordinance is approved, to further define how we would implement the TID.
Okay, all right, hang on. All right, and number 7, the type and rate of any fee that will be levied, and I think in the council communication it said 2%. So my question is that a hard and fast 2%, or is that something that could change in the next 10 years?
Mayor, Councilmember Chris, my understanding is that there's a renewal term, and that at that time period, the hotel partners, in partnership with the city and the city council, can come back and change any part of the ordinance. And so they could decrease the percentage, they could increase it based on the return over the 10 years.
Okay, and right now, it says 10 years and 9 months, so December 31st, 2036 would be the renewal option.
I trust you on that, Mayor and Councilmember Chris, yeah, without doing the math. And that date may be adjusted. There was an initial date to start on April 1st, which we've obviously passed, so that's why it's that weird date.
But I think it says or soon after.
Yes.
So, okay, now it's asked about a statement as to whether bonds will be issued. I don't remember even talking about this. It's 7 double I. A statement as to whether bonds will be issued is part of the financial plan.
I'm going to defer to our legal counsel on that. I thought, my understanding is that I thought the TID would not be able to issue bonds.
What section is it?
Councilmember Chris, what section are you referring to?
I'm looking at page 13, line 3, under section 7, double I. So a financial plan describing, the rate, which we have, a statement as to whether bonds will be issued, and then a reasonably estimated cost, which we have, and a draft first year budget. So we have all of those. I was surprised about bonds.
Mayor and Council, I think you're referring to the petition, which we don't have yet. If the enabling ordinance gets passed, then the proponents will come forth with a petition and an implementing ordinance to create the Tourism Improvement District. This ordinance just allows them to be created through a petition and implementation process. So you don't have the complete information here. There is still a step 2. Right now we're on the step 1. If council approves, then TIDs can be created. And then step 2 would come forward with a plan, a petition with all this information in it.
Okay, but later on it says that that we will have a hearing to determine if the following criteria is satisfied, and it says an initial plan and the establishment of the district. So Okay. Let's worry about bonds later.
It
So-
doesn't, can I?
That would be step
can I
2.
Butt in for a minute?
Yes.
In reading the council com, it doesn't really explain that there, unless I am reading this incorrectly, that there are going to be different steps here.
That's correct, it doesn't.
So it is a bit confusing when you read that part. There's no understanding that that there's something coming after this.
Mayor and Councilmember Chris, and just really briefly, and I understand that when we first talked about at one of the sessions at City Council, it is a 2-step process where, as legal counsel has said, this ordinance is the enabling ordinance that sets up the rules and framework for a tourism improvement district. The second ordinance, the second step, if this is approved, would be the details about implementing a tourism improvement district focused on hotels and motels. It has, as Councilmember Chris alluded to, the initial plan, budget, and then it's our responsibility as the bringers of the ordinance to have a petition voted on by the hotels.
I do remember that. I am just referring to, because our memories are short,
I understand.
that in the council com, it would have been more helpful.
To be more clear.
To be more clear, to say this is the first part of the discussion that we had.
Hold on, I need my glasses too.
And Mayor and Councilmember Chris, so on the good side, there's opportunity then to help guide us in the second step and clarify language in the second ordinance.
Great.
Yeah, I'm looking at page 1610, and actually I went back and forth through this, city attorney, because I was like, it seems like we're repeating ourselves here. But on C, line 10, it says, if we adopt the establishment ordinance, such ordinance shall establish the district and approve the initial plan as presented.
And this is the initial, right?
Right, so I'm just trying to figure out the initial plan. Okay, so then there's a board of directors, and later on it says, 1/3 will be decided by the council. That would be step 2. But it also says that, one voting director of the board may be designated as a designated representative of the city. It does not specifically mention Visit Longmont, but I thought we had thought that Visit Longmont would have a seat at the table for sure.
Yes, we had talked about having a crossover between the boards as a Visit Longmont representative and a TID board member also, so that we could complement each other. That is true, yeah.
Okay, because you're not thinking a different designated employee, you're thinking that this would be in tandem with Visit Longmont, yes?
This, Mayor, Councilmember Chris, the TID board would be a separate board, but would work, our goal is to work in partnership with the Visit Longmont board.
Okay. And so you would not necessarily have one voting director from your organization as a designated representative of the city?
That, Mayor, Councilmember Chris, I think that would be a separate representative. We wanted to be guided by the city council, whether you would guide us to have a council member or a city staff person be a member of the LIT, the TID board.
Okay, so it would be at our choosing?
Yes.
Okay. CC. Okay. Extent and manner. Okay, also on page 18, line 23, a district may contract with the city for collection and enforcement of the district fees. Is that a for sure yes?
Mayor, Councilmember Chris, that's our intention, is to have partner with the city as we've been discussing with them to collect any fees, just much like they do the lodger's tax already.
Yeah, I remember that being part of the plan and budget. Okay. Working through here, it's a little bit long, but that's all I had, actually. I just had questions, like maybe
Thank
things
you.
had changed.
Mayor, if I can jump in, to kind of bring this together, the council So when you look at districts generally, the state law allows for other districts. If council will remember in this conversation, this isn't a specific district that's outlined in state law. This is a home rule creation of the district. And so before we can actually create an ordinance and do that, you had to create the enabling legislation. Once this is passed, then that triggers the other pieces to come forward. You couldn't do the other without creating the program under the home rule structure that allows for that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I just was confused when it said the initial plan, so I just wanted to hammer out the details as I had recalled them. All right.
They sound hammered out.
And no axe this time.
It looks like
It looks like,
Councilor
yeah.
Popkin has a question or a comment if you're finished, Councilor.
I am.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Actually, just two comments. First, I just want to commend Councilmember Christ's detailed reading of this and the clarification questions that she was asking there. I think any type of new district or approach that we're creating merits that kind of scrutiny, and I appreciate her bringing it to it. The other comment I want to make is this council has been discussing in recent months kind of how to support Longmont businesses more, and I just wanted to kind of take a step back here and note that this is part of the business community through the tourism sector that we're able to support by enabling this, and that will have downstream benefits economically and in particular economically on other businesses that maybe aren't as key in the tourism sector overall, but will be frequented by folks who are visiting Longmont. And this will have immediate benefits, I think, given some of the recent news and the Sundance Festival and all of that. So thanks for all the good work on that.
Seeing no other comments. I'm going to open up the public hearing on this, and there are 4 people signed up in the public hearing. The first one is Mark Allen, or Ailman, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Mark Allman. I'm the General Manager of Candlewood Suites here in Longmont, the hotel. I've been here for about a year. Prior to that, 18 years prior, I ran a Holiday Inn full-blown, full-service hotel in Quincy, Illinois. And Quincy it's a small town, middle of the state. 40,000 people, so less than half of what Longmont has. But we were one of the first cities to actually implement a TID in the state. The only real objections that we ever met with while we were creating it was the likelihood that these fees that we might charge, in this case it was 2% as well, might be perceived as tax, and that might have some sort of a negative impact on hotel rooms. We really didn't feel that people look at that closely enough, and we weren't too worried about it, but people were worried about it. Turns out it was totally unfounded. When we passed the ordinance, we got it implemented. It took us about 6 months to actually acquire enough cash to do anything with. We immediately formed a board that was local members of our city council. It was board members from the CVB as well as hoteliers and Quincyans, and they were responsible for directing the proceeds of what they did with the money. So they were prioritized to put an emphasis on advertising and also in funding of events that they might be able to afford to put money behind. So, so we got going after about 6 months. We saw results almost immediately. Like the advertising paid off really quickly because they were able to reach markets that our local CVB never had the resources to go after, and they actually returned investment. Like I'm a hotelier. I'll tell you when it's an actual room from out of town from that event because they talk to us. So we saw results really quickly. One of the ones I want to share with you, I don't want to rehash all your talking points, but I want you to feel how this works. Our board met with a group of very enthusiastic and passionate competitive cup stackers. And I didn't know what that was, and I kind of laughed about it, but it's a thing, and they cup them, they stack them, they unstack them. These people met with us. We ended up writing them a check for $5,000. That had to be spent in Quincy with local businesses. They paid for hotels. They paid for the organizers. It turns out we had 100 rooms sold the first year, 5 average guests. That's 500 participants coming into the Quincy market. Second year, it was 700 rooms. So it was a huge financial impact after the second year. And this was something that would have never gotten off the ground without the resources of this. I see I'm running out of time, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I've got plenty of those kinds of details. If anyone would like to hear them, I'd be meet you with afterwards. And appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mark. The next person is Kimberly McKee.
Hello, Mayor Peck, Mayor, members of council. Ooh, I've never done it like this. My name is Kimberly McKee, 320 Main Street. I'm the executive director of the Downtown Development Authority and a board member of Visit Longmont. Thank you so much for your consideration of the Tourism Improvement District. As you all know, Longmont continues to get better and better, and it is an exciting place to be. We hear over and over from our small businesses on Main Street the impact that tourism is having on them. And I've been here a long time now, and we hear it more often that people are coming here. When we look at economic development, we talk about how we are perfectly centered in the Front Range, kind of perfectly centered in the country, a great place to be. And you know, now we see people saying they do want to come and spend their time and money. It is so important to have new money into our economy, especially now in a kind of uncertain economy as our local independent business owners are a little bit worried about what's happening. If we can leverage this TID to get more butts in seats, as we say, and people that are supporting our local businesses, buying things, it's going to be amazing. It's so important that we have a relevant and competitive advantage throughout the Front Range. We're unique, and as we look at downtown especially, so many people have invested their time, their dollar, and their passion into new event spaces. So if you look at Bestow and the St. Vrain and the Times Collaborative, the Callahan House, the Elks, these are amazing places, amazing facilities that can be cobbled together with someone that has the time to establish and nurture relationships of meeting and conference planners. So we are right on the verge of bringing all of this new money, and the TID will certainly help under the leadership of Visit Longmont. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Kimberly. Sarah Leonard again.
Hi, I'm Sarah Leonard. You know me as the CEO of Visit Longmont. I'm also a resident of Longmont, and I live up near Pace and the 66 in Councilmember Chris Ward. I'm just going to use my mic time to thank the council for hearing and guiding us through this Longmont TID discussion. It's been educational, and I think there's been really great questions. I also want to take the opportunity to thank city staff for working with us throughout the year. I know we've had some good discussions, and then also thank the Visit Longmont board and our hotel partners for coming to the table and really putting some skin in the game and wanting to benefit the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. Derek O'Brien.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm the general manager for the Home 2 Suites in Longmont, and I'm just coming to speak on behalf of our favor and joy of this potential opportunity for the community here. Our team has been a big advocate for working within the community and trying to build up those relationships and exposing our local businesses to the greater, traveling community, such as, partnering with local shops and whatnot so they could set up and sell some of their products and get their name out there, as well as advertising some of their more charitable things, such as the Humane Society in Longmont. That is a big partnership that we're working on and constantly building, and something that we want to continue pushing and carrying forward as this potential TID comes into effect. One of the things that we definitely want to work for, and as far as an employer, is the effect that it'll have on our employees. During the summer, of course, Longmont is a great time. It's always busy. People are spending money. They're having a great season. But it's something that we have to keep in mind when we get into the off-peak, something that affects families quite significantly as we have less and less that we can offer them in a reasonable accommodation. And this assessment, as another speaker spoke about, working in other cities, I have seen its effects in those slower times, and I do know that it can be a significant impact on that kind of period to make sure that there is enough to go around, to make sure that we don't have to make cuts and restrictions to them. So as an employer and as an employee, that's something that I look favorably on, and I know they do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. I'm going to go off script, out of order, because I just want to say I think the timing is perfect, because with the Sundance Festival coming to Boulder, we're going to get a lot of spillover. And so I think a lot of things that we're doing right now will help us in the very near future. So seeing no one else in the public that would like to speak to this, let's vote. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Ferry. Let's vote.
Either one of us got
That's right.
Yeah.
I just want to make one.
Oh, okay. Let's vote first.
Before I cast my vote.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that my two concerns were the timing and disposable income in pockets. But I want to mention that the national business news is very positive right now. And I've relieved all my worries. So I will be voting for this.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for your input. We are now moving on to our items removed from the consent agenda, and there's 9D. Councilor Christ removed that.
Yes. Hang on, let me go back here. 9D. Well, hello, Christy.
Good evening.
Is Kayleen in by any chance today?
No, she is sick today.
Okay.
But I do have, good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Christy Wiseman, the city's housing investment manager. And then with me, I have Dave Emerson. He's the executive director of Habitat for Humanity of the St. Vrain.
Okay, glad to have you, Dave. Probably these questions are better directed at you also. I'll tell you what my concern with this is we often talk about having inventory of attainable and affordable housing. And I know interest rates have been very high, and I'm assuming that your concern about resale is that at 60% AMI, people can't afford the mortgage with the high interest rates. Now, one of the positive pieces of news this morning is that interest rates are coming down. So I'm wondering if there's a way we could adjust this to say, and I guess I would like to know your formula, because you're probably, down to the 0.00 on this. But if you're expecting 30% of income to go towards mortgage, or maybe it's slightly different, and maybe there's some other factors you add into that, could we adjust this to say that if people are not able to make that mortgage at 60% AMI, that we will slide it up to 80%, but not give a blanket statement that we would go to 80%, because it's very important that we have 60% in the market.
Yeah, Mayor Peck and council members, thank you for taking the time tonight. And first of all, I apologize that you even need to look at this. It's highly unusual and something that, frankly, I didn't think through as much as I think we should have. There were some unusual things that happened. I want to make sure I'm clear on what we're looking at here. So all 12 of these units have families attached to them below 60%, and Habitat being at 0%, financing is not an issue. We're going to make them affordable. You're 100% correct that what we're concerned about is the maximum sales price has gone down 4 years in a row at 60% AMI, and construction costs have gone. So there is not really a gap in that maximum sales price to what the sales price would be for our homeowners. So there is a formula that the sales price goes up with these deeds. And what we find works best in secondary markets is that there's a bigger pool between that initial sales price and that potential secondary sales price. Now, our history would suggest that most of our homeowners are not selling right away, and there is risk, of course. It's a for sale product. But the last 4 years, those things have come together, and the affordable definition per the code is 80%. And when we have done deeds before, Mountain Brook and others, they have been at 80%. One of the things that may be helpful to understand is that within the deed itself, if you have two individuals or households coming together that are both making the same offer, and that sales price is a formula, the city can have a lottery that has a preference for those below 60%. So right now, what we're mainly concerned about is that we have our homeowners have confidence that there will be a pool of potential homeowners, because Habitat won't be involved in that secondary market. We won't be looking at the zero, we won't be offering 0% and so forth. So that's really our concern, which I'm not sure I answered your question, but it's not really on that first sale. And what our concern would be is on that second sale, if we're right at the edge of that maximum sales price with, current interest rates, and there is a quick sale, then it's constrained quite significantly and differently than other deed restrictions we have in the city.
So there are a lot of moving metrics in this. I mean, the AMI might change. The interest rates will likely change. But what I think I'm hearing you say is that there's preference for 60% AMI, regardless of whether we move this to allow for 80%. Is that correct?
So the deed allows, so the deed is specific on the mechanics of a sale, in that the seller is working with the city, who has a qualified buyer pool. And then the price, there's a certain amount that price can be, at which point households can make an offer. And if they're, in the event that there is the same offer with two households, there can be a lottery. The deed speaks to a lottery. And within that lottery, that process is up to the city in terms of how they would choose a preference. Presumably, the lower AMI is frankly how we do it when we do the initial sale. It's a point system, and that's under the need side of things. So the city does have some control there.
And this is organized and considered by the Longmont Housing Authority? Christy?
So the Housing Authority is not involved. The city's homeownership city program, but to echo Dave's point, the secondary sale, which is what the voluntary alternative agreement amendment is speaking to, is the power of the city. Habitat won't be involved at that point. So we can have our own city priorities related to that buyer pool. I think the key is that, having that maximum qualified buyer on the subsequent sales be up to 80% AMI versus 60 just provides a potentially much larger pool of folks that can go out, and they are going to have to go get a conventional or FHA or VA mortgage, not have access to that 0% Habitat financing. And so when you're having folks at 60% AMI having to go get a conventional mortgage, depending on what rates are at that point in time, I think Habitat is just concerned about that qualified buyer pool at 60 versus allowing us to go up to 80, which again is the maximum affordability for sale as defined in the code.
Well, 80% is still good, but I would hate to see 60% AMI get edged out because of all these external metrics?
So we mix AMIs a lot. On the for sale side, 80% AMI and below is capital A affordable as we see it. 60% AMI that we use is for the rental market, so they're distinctly different from each other. And so when we think about the True North project, some similarities. Council adjusted the buyout provisions in our deed restrictions for similar reasons and what we were looking for. What Habitat does on the initial sale is they're probably as deep as you can go on a for sale product at around 60% AMI. And the reason that they can do that is because of the 0% interest. When you think about what we're doing for affordable on the True North project, we're not at 60% AMI. We're probably 70 to 80% AMI because of the conventional financing. So that's really the difference in the first sale versus the second sale when we talk about for sale housing.
How many do you have in the pool at 60%?
I would say that Habitat's really the ones building 60% because finding qualified buyers in the conventional lending
Resale,
market is very difficult. The only way that I think that happens, or that where we see it more frequently, is with Habitat, where they're providing the 0% interest loans.
Okay. Well, I don't really see a solution to this, actually. It seems like if you're at 60% AMI, hold on to your house. 0% is the best deal you're going to get, probably. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, I will move this forward. I'll move Resolution 2025-20.
Second. It's been moved by Councilor Chris, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Ferry. Let's vote.
And thank you for answering all my slightly tedious questions, but very informative and educational.
And that passes unanimously.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We are now at the general business 2024 Annual Sustainability and Climate Action Report. Do we need to take a bio break up here or in staff? All right, let's do 5 minutes. You want to sit?
You know what, I don't know how to change that.
Counselors, we are back. And I would like to invite, as I can see, Lisa Novlock.
No. Yeah, no, I was talking to Diane, no, not him.
Aaron, thank you. Lisa Noblock is here for the Sustainability 2024 Annual Sustainability and Climate Action Report.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Peck and members of council. I'm Lisa Knobloch, the Sustainability Manager with Strategic Integration, and I'm here tonight to go through our 2024 Annual Report and Sustainability and Climate Action Progress. I'll do a brief overview of sustainability and climate action. I'll go through some of our 2024 Annual Report, and then I'll get deeper into our climate action recommendations, progress, and our progress on reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. I'll do an update on our waste diversion and ask you for some direction on next steps, and then touch briefly on our recently completed heat action plan. I like to start with this slide because I think it's a good visual showing how our sustainability plan, our climate action recommendations report, and subsequent plans as well are all really nested within Envision Longmont and support the goals and guiding principles of Envision Longmont. And all of those things work together to help achieve the ambitious goals and targets that you all have set out through those plans, and also climate-related resolutions. So we don't really view things in isolation. A lot of these things work together and are connected with one another. The key sustainability targets that I'll be going through with you all tonight primarily our overarching target on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, our target to reach 100% renewable energy by 2030, our zero emission vehicles target, and a sub-targets focused specifically on fleet, our waste diversion targets, and then our newly adopted water conservation target. So you all got the report in your packet. I'm not going to go through every page of that, but I'll pull out some key highlights. You have the cover page that talks a little bit about that history and connection to Envision, which I think is important. Our sustainability vision, which is really our North Star that we're working towards. And then we always try to drive people to the Longmont Indicators website as well. And then a snapshot of how we're doing as far as implementing our strategies within the sustainability and climate action plans. And then also how well we're doing in terms of achieving the targets that are set out in those plans. So you'll see as of 2024, 83% of our immediate near-term, midterm, or ongoing strategies are on track for implementation. However, only about 47% of our targets have either been met or on track for being met. The remaining 50% or so of those targets, about half of those are targets that have just deemed to be difficult in terms of obtaining the right data or establishing the methodology to set baseline for those targets. So some of those are equity-related targets where either we don't have the data readily accessible, or the data that we do have access to, we can't publicly report because of privacy information. And so those have been put a little bit on the back burner. There are some targets in the food systems category that are dependent on actions that are happening in other places like the county. And so those are things that have just been a little bit put to the side that we need to revisit when we update the sustainability plan. The other half of that, 50% or so, are energy-related targets around renewable energy and energy efficiency, and I'll get into the details of where we're at with those. And I have my colleague Susan Bartlett here from Longmont Power and Communications as well, in case you all have some specific questions as we get into that information. I'm also joined by Francie Jaffe and Nicole Manish from our sustainability team, so I have quite a bench behind me if you all have questions that I can't answer. So on the top left is a snapshot of where we're at with each of those key targets. I'll dig into the details in subsequent slides. I just want to call attention to the discrepancy on the water conservation target. Because this is the 2024 annual report, the water efficiency plan wasn't adopted with that new target until 2025. So I just want to highlight, if you question why that target is different than what you saw on the previous slide, that's why. In subsequent reports, you'll see that updated water conservation target from the water efficiency plan. Although we have a lot of different technical work groups and departments within the city that are working towards those key targets, we know that we can't achieve those alone. So we work a lot with our residents and our business community, as well as folks from across our organization. to reach those ambitious targets that we have set out. We gauge the community in a number of different ways. We work, sorry, it's starting to get small and it's hard for me to see it as well as I used to be able to. It's hard for me to admit. First of all, we work with our frontline communities. Those are the folks that are most impacted by climate change. We do that largely through our Equitable Climate Action Team, and those folks engaged in providing feedback on 9 city projects last year. We also work with individual households through our SOUL program that's in partnership with Community and Neighborhood Resources, where we go into people's homes. We have volunteers that do that work. We do assessments. We do direct installs of things like LED light bulbs and water efficiency fixtures. And then we provide them with a lot of resources and tips and tools on how to apply for additional rebates or incentives and what else they can do to incorporate sustainability practices in their homes. We did 57 visits last year, and we are already on track to double that for this year. So that program is doing really well. We also partner with Community and Neighborhood Resources and the Longmont Community Foundation to work with neighborhoods through our Neighborhood Impact Grant. In 2024, we granted over $18,000, which leveraged additional funds to bring in nearly $51,000 in investments in neighborhood sustainability. And then we have our Sustainable Business Program and registered 23 new businesses in 2024. We do a lot of work on the greenhouse gas mitigation side, so reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but we are also doing a lot of work on the adaptation and resilience side. So we know our community is already facing the impacts of climate change. We are likely to see that increase. So we are starting to have more and more focus in that area. Just a few key highlights that I want to mention. Our Whole Home Health Program, which is a partnership between sustainability, Longmont Power and Communications, and housing, is a program that brings together energy efficiency, health and safety measures, and building electrification to enhance resilience to extreme heat for low-income households. And then we're working with Parks and Community and Neighborhood Resources as well to implement community-driven cooling solutions in the Kensington, Spangler, and Lanyon parks this year. We're leveraging ARPA dollars for those improvements. And I wanted to give a shout out to our parks folks who just got a $350,000 GoCo grant to install a splash pad at Kensington Park this year. So that's very exciting. And we'll be looking at other heat impacted neighborhoods this year as well. We also do a lot on community education and outreach. So in 2024, our team was present at 43 presentations and events, both internal and external, so doing a lot of that engagement. We have our newsletter, which now goes out to over 2,000 people. We changed that last year from a quarterly format to a bi-monthly format. And then also we relaunched our internal green team, and this year they're focusing on reducing waste at city facilities. And then last but not least, equity and climate action. With our Equitable Climate Action Team, not only do they provide us feedback on city projects and programs, we also work with that group to build their capacity and learning in different topic areas related to climate action. Last year, the focus was on community connectedness and resilience with regards to natural disasters and other emergencies. And then they also support us a lot in education of our community members. And last year they volunteered at 15 city events. So they really help expand our capacity there. This is just a quick snapshot with the recommendations from the Climate Action Recommendations Report. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I just want to highlight that we are now well into the midterm recommendation period. And you can see that all of the near-term recommendations are underway, and the majority of the midterm recommendations as well. And then also want to highlight that we have the equity recommendations that are part of that report that were developed by the Just Transition Plan Committee, which is now our Equitable Climate Action Team. They developed recommendations in these two categories of developing an equity assessment, so focusing on capacity building, applying an equity lens, and focusing on our frontline communities. And then looking at making sure when we're doing equitable climate action, we are doing that in an equitable way. And they have a number of recommendations that we've now pulled a lot of these into a couple of different tools that we utilize both as staff and with ECAP members when they are providing feedback to projects and programs. I'm going to get now into the our progress on the 3 areas that are the highest contributors to our greenhouse gas emissions. The first of which is electricity, which is our primary contributor to our greenhouse gas emissions. We have that overarching goal that I mentioned earlier with reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. As of 2021, so we do our greenhouse gas inventory every 3 years. So we'll be doing that again in 2025 with 2024 data, but we don't have that completed yet. So the most recent data we have is 2021 that shows that we're on track for meeting that goal. We have 2 supporting targets within that. The biggest of which is that transition to 100% renewable electric energy. That is by far the biggest impact for us in driving down our emissions from the electricity sector. I have a yellow X next to that because we don't yet have 2024 data, unfortunately. We should have that in May, and I'm sure LPC folks will be bringing that back to you in the not too distant future. So in 2023, we're at about 47% renewable as far as delivered energy goes, and 38% as far as total energy goes. We have an interim target of reaching 50% by 2025, so it is likely that we're there. I just don't have the data to show that to you all tonight. But you all know that we are working steadfastly toward that goal. Also, as you all know, as being really involved in the Platte River's integrated resource planning process, we are likely on track to meet close to 90% by 2030, and that last 10% is a much more difficult section for us to get to. The other target that we have here, supporting target, is increasing our electric energy savings to 2% annually through energy efficiency measures. You can see that we're only at about 0.5% there in 2024. That went down slightly. That's for a couple of different reasons. One of which is we've done a lot of the low-hanging fruit already through our Efficiency Works program. So a lot of things like lighting retrofits, switching to LED lighting, that's had a big impact. But the things that are beyond that are starting to be the more complicated and more expensive things. The LPC staff is working with our key accounts managers and our other folks to continue those energy efficiency measures that I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. The other thing that we didn't have as much of a focus on when we set this target was building and transportation electrification. So as we are pushing those things more, that's increasing our load. It is making it harder for us to meet that energy savings target. And we're not sure that that is the best target to really be measuring against this overarching goal. We're going to continue to report that out to you because that's what we have as it stands. But the next time we update the sustainability plan, that's a target that we'll probably want to revisit to see if that's the one that still makes sense for us to continue to measure, if we want to switch that. I'm not going to go through all these strategies here. These are the strategies that the Climate Action Task Force identified to support that renewable energy goal. I just wanted to highlight there's work happening in each of these areas, and we're doing a lot to help push that forward. Natural gas is our second largest contributor to our greenhouse gas emissions. We have 2 supporting targets here that are focused primarily on energy efficiency, participation for low-income households, and residential market rate households in our residential energy efficiency program. The Climate Action Task Force increased the targets on both of those, on the low-income side to 400 homes per year by 2025. You can see in 2024 we're at 56 homes. I will also say that although we are still far from our goal of 400 homes, this has been an immensely complicated thing to address. We now have a full-time staff member that's in Longmont Power and Communications that we partner with sustainability to focus specifically on this program. He's doing a fabulous job really partnering with a lot of different folks, with the county, with Platte River, with the state's CARE program, which is their low energy or low income energy efficiency program. We now have the Xcel's Clean Heat Plan rebates that are coming down, and a big infusion of money from the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant through the DRCOG region that also is focused on building decarbonization for low income homes. So we're doing a lot to scale that up. It's been a lot of complicated pieces to try to put together. The primary barrier in that is really capacity and those funding resources. So we are working really hard to get that number up, and I think we'll see a steady uptick in that. It's just been a lot of pieces to put into place. On the residential energy efficiency side, we are closer to that goal of 200 homes per year. We're at 137 homes in 2024. That one also is a matter of capacity and funding. So we are doing what we can with the resources we have available to us. I think the LPC staff is really supporting those things, and we're trying to partner with them as much as possible to get that information out with folks. We have a number of strategies in the building energy sector. I'm not going to go through all those again. You can see the focus on commercial efficiency, residential efficiency, continued implementation of the building electrification plan, which includes those code updates that building services folks came and chatted with you all about in February. And then we're evaluating options for a climate action fund. So it's trying to find different funding and financing mechanisms to help make this stuff work. There's legislation this session at the state level focused on bill financing, which is a pretty impactful tool for folks to be able to do these types of home improvements. That hasn't passed yet, but I think it has a lot of support. So, and we're watching that as it moves through on the state level. Our last large sector in terms of contributing to our greenhouse gas emissions is transportation. We have a specific target in this one to reduce our transportation emissions 40% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. Again, the most recent data we have for that is 2021, and as of that time, we had reduced our transportation emissions by 26%. We have two supporting targets there. The first is focused on zero emission vehicles. As you can see, we are pretty far lagging behind on that one. As you can imagine, there are a lot of market forces on that side that are really out of our control. What is in our control, we are trying really hard to do, which is installing additional electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We're partnering with the county on their CFI grant, which they got $4.9 million to install charging infrastructure across the county. And we have our Efficiency Works home charging rebate as well. New codes that are coming down from the state, again, focused on that EV charging piece. And then we do our best to promote that as well. But again, there's some market forces there that we don't have control over. And then we have that sub-target with regards to fleet. That's an area where our fleet folks have done an amazing job. If you saw in the report, we installed 26 new charging facilities last year. And we also have, I think, 60-some hybrid vehicles that are going into service for PD this year as well. So they're doing a lot. They're in the process of refining their the way that they're tracking and reporting their inventory. So we only have 2022 data. We should have updated data in the coming weeks, but we didn't have that for you all for tonight. So we should have a better idea of that when we have that new data from them. They're also running into supply chain issues and other things that I'm sure you all can imagine that everybody is facing at this time. And then we have our target to increase mode split. So that's getting people out of single occupancy vehicles and using biking, walking, transit, and we're doing pretty well on that. And then I'll just call your attention to the Transportation Mobility Plan update, which was just recently in front of you all. We really look to a lot of the strategies in that plan to help us drive down those emissions from the transportation sector. And then we're also partnering on a regional EV plan with other folks from the county, again, that has that CFI grant, as well as information sharing and community outreach. I'm going to move on to waste diversion because this is another key priority for you all, and I wanted to make sure to provide you an update. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have a question on some direction for you all for next steps in this area. So 2 years ago, you all passed an updated zero waste resolution that set these targets of increasing citywide waste diversion to 75% by 2030 and 95% by 2050. In 2024, our citywide diversion was about 30%. Again, I have that yellow X there because this data is notoriously a little bit difficult to collect from our haulers, and not all of them got the data in on time to the county. And so I don't think we believe that number is going to stay that way. We want to give it some more time to make sure we have all of the data for 2024. And that's another area where we're in the process of really making sure that our tracking and reporting methods we feel confident are accurate. So that number may change. That's the number that we have to date. We have 3 supporting targets in increasing residential, commercial, and construction and demolition diversion. Our residential rate has stayed stubbornly in that mid 30% percent range. It kind of has ticked up a little bit, closer to 40, and it's now ticking back down a little bit. We're trying to really understand. That's pretty consistent with the waste diversion study that our waste services folks did a couple years ago when we were rolling out the curbside composting program. But we are really trying to dig into what the main barriers are for folks in getting to increase that residential rate. We think part of that is cost. It's an additional cost for composting, as you all know. And a lot of that, I think, is education and awareness. So we're going to be launching a multi-year educational campaign with some of our Plastic Pollution Reduction Act funds this year to really try to get that. We know we've had a lot of policies that have changed over the last year or so, and folks really need some help figuring out what they're supposed to be doing and making sure that they know that. So that's a stubborn one that we want to tackle. A huge bright spot is our commercial waste diversion. You can see that's ticked up quite a bit. I want to say that that is reflective of our universal recycling ordinance with just a year under our belt in terms of recycling and the composting requirements going into place this year. I think it's been a huge success, and we're really seeing it do exactly what we wanted it to do there. And we expect to keep seeing that number increase. On the flip side of that, construction and demolition waste has unfortunately gone down from 6% to 3%, so that's an area that's also going to be an area of focus. You can see we have a number of things that are underway to support these targets. A couple of things coming up, again, that we'll be launching an education campaign. Boulder County is doing a waste composition study this year that we'll be participating in. And then next year, we think we'll have a lot of opportunity with the revenue that'll be coming from the state's Extended Producer Responsibility Act that went into place a couple of years ago. Next year is when we're supposed to see the revenue coming down to municipalities. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like and what that structure is. Nicole from our team, along with Waste Services, are tracking that closely, and we will bring back information for you all when we have that and we know what the benefits are to us. So, looking at next steps, we did our waste diversion study in 2022 where we had a consultant go through a whole bunch of potential waste diversion strategies and modeled them for their diversion impact in the commercial, residential, and construction and demolition sectors. I put the boxes in green, and the bolded strategies are the ones that we already have in place. You can see we currently don't have anything in the construction and demolition sector. This slide I know is kind of hard to see. It's a different way to visualize that information, but looks at the tonnages of each of those strategies, and it gives you the scale of impact of each of those strategies. The top two lines are commercial recycling and composting. That's the universal recycling ordinance that we've already put into place. The commercial pay-as-you-throw is essentially requiring haulers to have a pay-as-you-throw system similar to what we have. That's a pretty tricky one to do because there's a lot of complexities in that. And then the embedded compost fee is one that I think has been brought to you all a little bit before. Currently, that's pretty cost prohibitive because of the really high tipping fees for composting. So that's something that might be on the table. It's something we might look at as an opportunity with the Extended Producer Responsibility Funds, but for the moment, it's pretty cost prohibitive. And the next areas that you'll see is really that clump of construction and demolition strategies is going to be our next big impact. That's something that we can do sooner rather than later. And so that is my question to you all tonight. If you all want us to pursue a construction and demolition ordinance. We've listed neighboring communities that have such an ordinance already in place. A number of Boulder County communities are also discussing the potential of a C&D policy. It is one of the strategies in the sustainability plan. We're well positioned to do that. We have all of the same resources that the city of Boulder does. We have the same commercial haulers, and it's already been in place in the city of Boulder. Recycle Colorado just put out a municipal guide and has a construction demolition committee that we're participating in, and there's a lot of resources from the county. If you did direct us to pursue that, we would follow a similar process that we did with the Universal Recycling Ordinance. So we would do a lot of internal and external stakeholdering. We would do a cost analysis impact to the extent that we can based on what we've seen in other communities and talking to haulers. We would bring all that information back to you all to determine then whether or not you wanted to move forward with us drafting an ordinance. So I'll pause there for questions and direction from you all.
Thank you, Lisa. This is a lot of information.
It is.
Could you go back to slide 12?
Yep.
Do you have a reason as to why the construction demolition is at 3%?
Mayor Peck and members of council, that is a great question. We did some investigating on the residential rate, and I'm going to tag Nicole to see if she has any response on the construction and demolition. I don't have the answer to that. If not, if she doesn't have that, I can circle back with you all.
How would us giving you direction to look into that, how would that change that by having a resolution? And is it working in Boulder?
Yeah, Mayor Peck, members of council, I'll take you to this slide. So this is, I know it's very difficult to see. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. It's the 5th, 6th, and 7th down. You'll see the construction and demolition. So it's an ordinance, so not a resolution. It would be an ordinance.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be a requirement. And there's also a couple of different supporting programs that we could look to implement. A dumpster requirement, which would require haulers that provide trash service to construction demolition sites, provide a dumpster specifically for diversion of construction and demolition materials, and then a deposit program, which is similar to what we have in other areas where people pay a deposit that they can get back when they can prove that they diverted a certain percentage of materials. So those are things that all have known impact from a diversion standpoint. So we do anticipate, and we have the numbers from this study that could back that up. I would have to follow up either with Nicole or somebody else to see if they have information on what the impact has been in the city of Boulder. Nicole, I don't know if you have any of that top of mind or no. Yeah, come on up.
Okay. Sorry. Good evening, Mayor Peck, members of council, Nicole Manish, the Zero Waste Sustainability Coordinator. So a little bit about the construction and demolition ordinance in Boulder is they're currently overviewing their process to amend it to help make it better. So I've been chatting with them about some of their obstacles. They've found great success in it, that it's helping their community get closer to their diversion goals. For us, C&D specifically would encompass about 10% of our total waste, which equals a lot of tonnage and a lot of greenhouse gas.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. At the Consortium of Cities meeting last Wednesday, we talked about this very thing. Boulder was very, very proud of what they were doing, but Broomfield, when they were taking down the First Bank Center, indicated that they were able to bring in like 80% or some ridiculous number from that one site. And so that was kind of interesting to find out. So this is a very timely discussion. And they were showing pictures from the Boulder presentation about this. They had doors and windows and other things that were all just like at resource stores, that they have all that stuff stored there. So they were pretty proud of what they were accomplishing. So it was pretty impressive. So I think this is a good direction to go, and I would encourage us to, because it didn't seem like it added that much more, but it sure made a difference, because some of the stuff was in pretty decent shape, it looked like.
Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I have a few comments and questions on the sustainability plan generally stuff that you were reporting, but I'll keep my comments right now focused on just your question on the C&D, if that's all right. Why haven't we had a C&D ordinance, and what would be the reasons we shouldn't consider this?
Yeah, Councilmember Popkin and council members, I think partly, I can't answer that historically speaking. I would probably need to look to some other folks that have more historical knowledge than I do. Other than it was only a couple years ago when we updated our zero waste resolution, and we went through that whole waste diversion study and identified what are those big areas of impact, and the universal recycling ordinance really rose to the top. So that's the one that we implemented first. It was a lot of work to put in to make sure that we got that one right, and I think we've done it well and have been really successful with very little pushback from the community on that. So I think it's just a matter of staff capacity and being able to go through the process to make sure that we have a good outcome with that. I don't know if it's something that's been discussed more in the past that I was not a part of.
Fair enough. Is there any reason municipalities choose not to pursue a C&D recycling ordinance or diversion ordinance?
Councilmember Popkin, I believe, and I would look again to Nicole to correct me if I'm wrong. Part of that has been making sure that we have the facilities and the infrastructure in place to handle the volume coming from construction and demolition, which I think we're more at a place now. And because there's a much larger regional push toward this effort, I think we're getting there. Nicole's nodding her head at me. And we have a lot of great resources regionally. The Resource Central folks, as Councilmember McCoy mentioned, I didn't mention this earlier, but we are kicking off a household reuse pickup with Resource Central so that they'll actually come to your house and pick up windows and doors and things that are usable. But I don't think that there's a reason necessarily that municipalities would not want to pursue it. We would go through the same process, like I mentioned, in terms of doing that stakeholdering to see if there's unintended consequences or barriers that we just want to make sure that we address in that process.
Great. Mayor Peck, would you prefer, I have a few other comments on other topics. Unsurprisingly, would you prefer that I ask those now or pause to address the C&D recycling ordinance across council?
Let's do the C&D because I
Sure
have a
thing.
couple of questions on other parts of this as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I would like to move that we direct staff to pursue the C&D ordinance.
Second.
That is, I made that motion and it was seconded by a couple of people. I'll choose Councilor McCoy.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, surprise, surprise. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote. Oh, I have to get back here. We have to change screens, so it'll take a second. And that carries unanimously.
Great. Thank you all.
Okay, Councilor Pumpkin, for your questions.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. First of all, Lisa, there's so much embedded within all of the commendable efforts across the board here. So I know you have a very focused and dedicated team behind you as well. And it's always helpful to have a municipal utility for the electric side of things to be a nice collaborator here. So kudos to everyone involved on that. Everything you're describing here is offering local benefits for the improvement of health and protection of our air, water, and land. And as a result, our own human health as well. So thank you for all of those efforts. I'll make a comment more than a question right now, which is you referenced the 100% renewable energy goal by 2030, and with what the PRPA board has passed and what the letter that this council actually approved earlier today is aimed to achieve, we'll likely get closer to probably about 85% renewable, maybe 90% by 2030. So I guess my one question there is, have we thought about how we're going to try to achieve that delta between what the community generation on the supply side is able to perform? We can certainly take this, we can certainly take this offline as well if that's helpful, but just wanted to see where your thought process is on that.
Yeah, Councilor Popkin, can I ask a clarifying question? And you're
Of course.
talking about the delta in terms of renewable energy generation or the delta in terms of our greenhouse gas emissions reductions?
Great question. The delta in terms of our renewable energy generation.
All right, I'm going to tap Susan Bartlett for that.
Mayor Peck, council members, thank you for the question. Councilmember Popkin, I'm Susan Bartlett, Director of Energy Strategies and Solutions, Longmont Power and Communications. And I think for those of you who are familiar, which I think all of you are, in Platte River's Integrated Resource Plan, there are options available to get us to a certain point beyond which there's a little bit of uncertainty in how we reach that final portion of the renewable energy supply. There will be multiple options for updated integrated resource plans. from now to 2030. We hope to have more information that helps us determine what the best approaches are for getting to our 100% renewable energy goal. And we'll work with our partners at Platte River and the other owner communities to take on those recommendations as they come through the studying of Platte River. I don't know if that's exactly what you were asking or not, Councilmember Popkin.
I mean, it's a fair assessment of kind of how we're thinking about it right now. And I realize even getting to that 85% is going to be a lot of work and a lot of careful planning. So.
Right, and you know, I have to think about it because it's work that we do every day. It's evolutionary work, if you will, and I think we have to be nimble, and we have to have our minds open to new technologies, and not just technologies, but how we're going to interact with our customers. And so we're embarking on that with you and with our community, and we'll have to just be nimble as we go.
Great, thank you, Susan.
I can answer part of that too, in that the other day we were in conversations. One of the things that I've asked them to look at is how do we partner with our other utilities within our organization, and how do we look at our water and wastewater plants in terms of renewable energy and becoming part of our look at how we approach distributed energy resources, just because when you look at how much electricity we use in our water plant and our wastewater plant, and are there options that we can look at to have a larger impact? What I said to staff is I think we need to start really digging into that, because that could have a significant impact in terms of how we approach this. And we're fortunate in our organization to the point, yes, we have all three utilities. B, we have some folks in our water and wastewater systems are looking at some creative solutions, and instead of looking at it just as an electric utility, how do we look at it as a total portfolio of utilities?
Mm-hmm.
Because that also lets us manage cost in different ways. And so that's something that in conversations with some of you all and then conversations with staff, I've asked them to start looking at.
Great, thank you. I mean, it's how do we really leverage the assets that we have across the board. Cool, thank you.
We'll have a chance to use our new, our increased data as well to help
Yeah.
us explore those opportunities.
Excellent, thanks. Just two more questions for you, Lisa. Thank you. I noticed in the report that you shared with us in writing, not necessarily that you presented in a fully, there was a section on food systems, specifically on supporting a locally based, environmentally responsible and healthy food system. You mentioned that there's a new project manager position for open space and agriculture that was approved and will be hired for this year, which is excellent to hear. And you noted specifically that the position will be coordinating and supporting agricultural research in Boulder County. Is that Longmont within Boulder County? Is that also in conjunction with the county? Just what's the relationship there?
Yeah, Councilmember Popkin, that is a great question that I don't think that I can speak to. I don't have the details beyond that. I don't know if David Bell is still here. He was in the, okay, he left. Yep. I'm happy to get back with you on that. That's a good question. I know we do, I believe, finally have that person on board. If not, we should soon. And they have a lot of work cut out for them, but I can't answer that question specifically.
Fair enough, thank you. Well then, something to also maybe, shall we say, food for thought here, would also be on the agrivoltaics opportunity.
Mhm.
You know, we have one of the state-of-the-art nationwide agrivoltaic projects just south of us, technically in Boulder County at Jack Solar Garden, and I'm wondering if we can leverage that proximity, the research that's being done there in partnership with CU Boulder and CSU, to understand how do agrivoltaics work in our climate zone, to actually leverage some of the agricultural space, even with private landowners, to also maybe co-locate some of the solar projects that we might be looking at. Because that also provides opportunities for local food system investment and, surprisingly to many people, different types of climate zones, even on one property. So maybe we'll just offer that to look into going forward as we explore what that position is actually going to be focused on.
Yeah, excellent, thank you.
And then just a broader code-based question for you. I know we're working on the energy code side of things for buildings. And I know that your staff is actively working with LPC on that and with the state coordination and buildings department. On the land development code side of things, has the sustainability team recently worked with planning staff to review like whether the land development code in key sections is as aligned as possible with some of these targets?
Councilmember Popkin, Mayor Peck, that is also a great question. I would say we've done that in with bits and pieces. So as you all know, planning folks have been working on the landscape codes that have been coming before you with discussion. We've provided some feedback to them on that. Actually, the last couple slides I'll get to is a heat action plan that was recently completed that looked specifically at code, current code and code opportunities for heat mitigation and climate resilience, particular to heat. So I would say we've done bits and pieces of that. Other components of it are the building code, as you've mentioned. And then really we've been waiting for the update to Envision to look further at opportunities with regards to the land development code. So whenever that happens, we will be involved in that process to bring forward other opportunities, but not on a comprehensive basis.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Thank you. Then 2 final comments and an offer. Just on energy efficiency, really great to see all the progress there. Obviously, on a community-wide level, energy efficiency is a lot easier for folks that own their property and own their homes, or the structures or businesses that they operate. And so to the extent it's helpful, I'd love to work with you and your team on like thinking about how we can help improve energy efficiency for rental properties, and particularly bridging that challenging landlord-tenant divide of who's responsible for what types of upgrades and behaviors there. So let me know if that's helpful. And then I just wanted to note for my fellow council members, we've heard a lot of public comments in recent months on, and in recent meetings, on the cost efficiency and efficiency and performance overall of electric versus gas appliances. And so maybe just wanted to state for the record here, just something that might be helpful to keep in mind, that the high efficiency, what we're talking about, high efficiency electric versus gas appliances. So particularly on the electric side, that's heat pumps. And even on the gas side, that's Energy Star certified gas furnaces. Typically, electric heat pumps are 2 to 4 times more efficient, depending on the climate zone you're in, even in cold climate zones like Colorado in terms of performance. And so that has an implication of to the savings, the performance, the energy use overall that we're talking about and that Lisa is measuring for us all. So it's important that we understand actually just how valuable those types of upgrades are, both, or just how we build our new buildings and what goes into that. Lastly, I'll just offer a plug, pardon the pun, for the Efficiency Works and the active rebates.
I'm going to time you from now on.
You won't need to. I'm about to be done. A plug for the Efficiency Works program, the active rebates that are going on right now, and the Clean Heat Plan from Excel that you referenced. I actually just captured some of those rebates myself for a hot water heat pump, and an EV charger with the LPC rebate recently. So highly encourage folks, if you are on the cusp of one of those upgrades, take a look right now. And if the best time to upgrade your system is when you don't need to replace it in the moment, but it's getting close to that age. So thank you very much, Mayor Peck. You do not need to time me.
Thank you, Councilmember Popkin. I will say you get the gold star for puns tonight. So, yes, Mayor Peck.
So I did have a couple of things on the on our utility bill, electric utility bill. What is the percentage of people, or how many are asking for all renewable energy on their energy bill? I know that's an option to have your energy be renewable.
Mayor Peck and council members, so I think you're referring to our renewable power purchase program.
Correct.
Right, and so those customers buy into the program with the assumption that their dollars go to support renewable energy and distributed energy resources in our community. So they don't actually receive all renewable electrons. And I believe that we have more than 600 participants right now. 25 are commercial, the rest are residential. So numbers of participation, is that what you're asking?
I am. And are you using those dollars specifically to promote programs or to turn our municipal buildings to help make those more efficient? What is happening to those dollars?
That's a good question, Mayor Peck. We are capturing that revenue from the premiums that are paid by those customers to help support things like our community solar developments and some of our distributed energy resource demonstration projects. We're looking at battery storage options in this year, and we want to be able to leverage those resources to help us work on those demonstration projects.
And
So we
how-
want that to be local.
Great. And how many community solar projects has that been?
We have two that are underway currently, and all three of the solar projects that we've participated in, we worked with Longmont Housing Authority last year to help them get solar at Village on Main.
Okay.
That's not necessarily a traditional community solar
No.
project, but it does offset some of the costs for that facility that they can then apply to residential programming. The two that we're working on this year and have contracts for the solar installation are the Waste Services building and then also the Ascent at Hover. And again, they're not exactly the same for community solar. The one at the Waste Services building will have subscriptions, a small number of subscriptions that Hannah Mulroy has talked to you a little bit about, where part of the subscriptions will be for market rate customers that pay a premium, and part will be for income qualified customers that then get a discount on their electric bill. For the solar at Ascent, the LHA and the developer will own the building. The city will own the solar on the roof. And then, the city will own the solar on the roof, and that energy will be distributed among the residents of the Ascent property based on their housing size, whether it's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or 4 bedroom, based on some modeling that we've done. So it won't be a subscriber program so much as the residents of the property.
And do all three of those projects have battery storage?
None of them have battery
They
storage
don't.
currently, which is a great use for the Renewable Power Purchase Program funding and consideration.
Yeah.
What we hope to do this year is do a feasibility analysis for where the best place is on our grid to add storage, and can we co-locate it with solar.
Right now, I would say the Waste Diversion Center would be the best.
That's the one that's going on soonest.
Oh, okay, good. That's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Councillor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Councillor Popkin made me think about, he made me think about when, I think, Susan, we spoke when I first got on council, and we were talking about, let me just say it. I love to cook. Now you remember, see, she smiled. I love to cook, and I love gas stoves. And, but I have to say, and I think when you were talking about the pump and all of that, I just want to know two things. I want to know what type of campaign are you, maybe you're not, maybe you think there's not a lot of Shaquitas out there that love to cook. I don't know. And love gas stoves, but because of the heat distribution and everything, I feel like I've cooked on electric stoves so many times and burned my stuff, and I get very upset about that. But I don't know if you actually talk to residents about the importance of switching over. And I know you all have rebate programs if you, like he was saying, turn in your appliance before it gets bad and you can get a electric stove. Have you had any demonstrations that I can see and witness? And I want to see you cook food on it and let me see the difference between the gas and the electric. However, I will say when we went to Japan, Mayor, the stove, the electric stove there cooked everything evenly. I don't know what kind of pumps, what they had, or the mayor be here next month from Chino. We can ask him. But I will say, I think I can tolerate that one. But I would like to know if you all have demonstrations. I would like to attend. I would like to see, I'm just being honest. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one in the city of Longmont that think the way I think.
Councilmember Yarborough, you are in good company. There's a lot of folks. I will say one thing and then pass it to Susan to jump in there. We do actually have an induction stovetop lending program, so you can borrow one and give it a try and see how it goes. We just made the switch in our house and it's going great. It takes some adjusting because it cooks very quickly, but I'll pass it to Susan if you want to add anything else.
Mayor Peck and council members, I'm really glad you asked this question because as Lisa said, we do have a partnership with Boulder County for an induction cooktop lending program. I will get you signed up and we'll send you home with a kit. It comes in a tub. It has a portable induction hub with the appropriate cookware and instructions, and you can keep it for a couple of weeks. You can practice. It's a great opportunity so you can try it before you buy it.
Right.
And I have an induction stove at home also. I didn't try it before I bought it. It's an adjustment, but I wouldn't go back. And I've had gas and electric, and it's faster than gas. So, and more easily controllable. But to answer your question, are we talking to people about it? Yes, every chance we get, we always bring our demonstration to events. We'll be at Earth Day on the 19th. Boulder County also brings theirs, so it's sort of like dueling induction cooktop tabling. But we would definitely encourage you to just try it, and we have several kits available at the service center to check out.
I think we should have that at the farmer's market so that people can see, having cooking demonstrations so people can see how easy, that you say is easy to cook on it versus gas stove. I mean, I think, you know, when people see it, then they're like, oh, it's not that bad, right?
You want to do a cooking with council?
I would, hey, don't play. You know I'll do it. Absolutely.
I'm there.
So,
Well,
anyway.
I think also Jose Luis, that used to manage the Sustainable Business Program, also did demonstrations with local businesses and came to a tabling event at the library, and I'm not remembering which one it was, where he cooked fajitas during the event. So yeah, there are a lot of different opportunities, but I hadn't thought of the farmer's market.
All right. Thank you.
You can sign me up for one of those kits as well.
All right. Come on down.
Come on down. Thank you very much. This was very interesting.
And I'll just add, Harold mentioned they are safer. So I have little kids. If you're putting little hands on top of the stovetop, they will not get burned. And from an indoor air quality standpoint, they are very beneficial for indoor air quality. So.
Then I would say put the youth skills on your list for a demonstration next year. That would be great. New Youth Skills Fair, which we had Sunday. Life skills. Oh, never mind.
It's getting late.
Yes.
I have two more quick slides on the heat action plan. So I just wanted to mention this quickly. Am I getting feedback? I'm sorry. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll step back a little bit. Can you all still hear me okay? Okay. So we recently completed our heat action plan. This was a further implementation of one of the recommendations in the climate action recommendations report, focusing on improving public health in a warming climate. So we've been doing a lot around extreme heat, as I mentioned some of the programs to you earlier. This is an effort to really put all of those things into one place. So our climate risk mapping, our heat mapping, our whole home health program, our community-driven cooling solutions. So putting that all into one place and then seeing where there's additional gaps. So the plan goes through talking about high level, what is heat risk? What are the implications in Longmont, particularly for people, the environment, and our infrastructure? There was an audit done of our plans and policies that we have in place and how connected and supportive or not they are of heat mitigation and heat safety. and then identified a number of intervention options, which are in these three categories of how they align with our existing goals and actions, public health benefits, and environmental co-benefits. You can see that vegetated open space, active and public transportation, trees, and emergency response really have some broad benefits in that regard, but there's a couple of other intervention recommendations as well. And then they went through and identified some recommendations moving forward, the first of which is to start to identify some goals and metrics specific to heat, which we don't currently have in place, and integrate those into new and existing efforts. Focusing on emergency planning, we are already working with our Office of Emergency Management. They already have practices in place for extreme cold, so we're working with them on how can we adapt that for extreme heat, and formalize those together in more of an extreme weather plan that can cover a number of different things. New code amendments, so making amendments to existing code and potentially new policies focused on heat safety, thinking about folks like outdoor workers and folks that might be impacted by heat on that level. And then integrative strategies. So that's like, I don't know if y'all are familiar with our Water Smart effort that brings together folks from across the organization to implement water conservation strategies. This is similar thinking. There's a lot of things across buildings and land use and other areas where we can be looking more at heat mitigation and heat safety as complementary efforts to those things already underway. Funding, we've been looking for some grants to help support this work. And then education and engagement is a pretty important component. If folks grew up here or have been here for a long time, you all know that it is hot in the summer. It's always been hot in the summer in Colorado, and folks are used to that. But it's changing. That is increasing. I have a chart here from one of the resources we go to in terms of climate projections. We are likely to see increased heat days, some of which could be pretty substantial. We have a lot of older households that don't have cooling. And we really want to make sure that folks understand what are the signs and symptoms of heat illness and what are the resources and information, what are the places to go for resources and information for folks. And so that's something we'll also be rolling out a campaign this year around heat awareness and tied with air quality as well, because those two things often happen together in the summertime. So we have some of these things underway as they build off other work from previous direction. And then as we get into potentially new policy related areas, we'll bring those things back to you all for further direction and conversation. Just a quick reminder, we have Longmont indicators. We're going to say that over and over again. It's the best place to go for all of this information and more. And next steps, we'll be doing an update to that mid-year, and we'll send you a communication when that happens. And then we'll continue our implementation and project-based updates as we always do. That's all I have, unless anyone has any other questions or comments.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We're now on the 2025 legislative bills recommended for City Council, and Sandy Cedar is on her way down.
Did I get one of these? Hello, Mayor and members of council. Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. I have 3 bills for you today, and all of them are around transportation. Some which want to take away funding for transportation, and one that wants to potentially give us some funding for transportation. So let me go through those briefly. Right, yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay, so the first one is Senate Bill 25-257 concerning modifications of annual transfers from the general fund to the state highway fund. This is basically, oh, sorry.
Sorry. We're
That's all right.
shuffling.
Yeah, we're looking at the forms, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did everyone get one? They're still going. Okay.
I forgot to grab one as I.
I'll hang on. All right. Everyone
We're all
has
good.
one? Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So the first one is Senate Bill 25-257 concerning modification of annual transfers from the general fund to the state highway fund. Basically what this does is completely defunds the Revitalizing Main Streets program, which has been really beneficial for Longmont in the recent years. So since transportation is a priority to the city council, and this would reduce a huge grant program, city staff recommends that council opposes Senate Bill 25-257.
I move the opposed Senate
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Popkin to oppose SB 25-257.
Okay. The next one is Senate Bill 25-258.
We're going to vote for this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello.
I've done that many times, so we're fine. And that passes 6-1 with Councilor Christ opposing.
Excellent. Okay, so the next one is Senate Bill 25-258 concerning a temporary reduction for the road safety surcharge and modifying the allocation of revenues from the surcharge to increase allocations to counties and municipalities. So this seems interesting. It seems on the surface like maybe it would be a good idea, because what it does is it temporarily reduces the $3.70 road safety surcharge, but it also reduces the maintenance that CDOT would provide to the highways and roads that are actually street roads within the city. So it would basically give that responsibility back to the city. So we would rather them continue to do the maintenance on their own state highways and roads rather than to give us $3.70 back, not even to the cities, but to the individuals. So with that being said, again, transportation is important. We want for the state to be able to do their own, we want for them to be able to maintain their own things.
And with all the complaints about we're not dealing with the roads very well, yeah, the last thing we need is for them to take money away.
Yeah, because it sounds really good. It sounds like it's something that would help with home rule and that, you know, giving that responsibility back to the municipalities, but it's essentially an unfunded mandate.
Right.
Significant unfunded mandate.
Right. Councilor
Yeah,
Christ.
that's right.
Sandy, I'm conflicted on these because, of course, I want, reliable transportation. But I was down at the Capitol, and boy, they're really scraping to get the budget balanced for the state. And so I know a lot of these are coming up because of that. And I don't know what the answer is, except for maybe time and effort. So anyway, that's my thinking.
Thank you, Councilmember Christ. I do believe that there are lots of, there was probably 100 bills about budget reductions and moving things around just in the last week. So I have no doubt that they're just trying to balance the budget. Yeah.
Before the end of May.
Before the 7th of May.
Oh. Councilor McCoy.
This just sounds like a Reagan-esque devolution sort of thing where you're trying to send it back, and it really doesn't do the trick. So it shouldn't be that hard to get your mind wrapped around this. Clearly, they've got the material and the support to do it. I move that we adopt oppose Senate Bill 25-25 258.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Yarborough, that we oppose SB 25-258. And that passes 6-1 with Councilor Christ opposing.
Thank you, Mayor. The next one is House Bill 25-1303 concerning the creation of an enterprise in the Department of Transportation to provide funding for transportation system enhancements that would lower automobile insurance costs by reducing the number of collisions that involve motor vehicles. So, obviously the way that insurance works is when there are crashes and when there are property damage and loss of life, that they have to pay that out, which of course then increases the prices of insurance. This concept is to make the roadways safer, which would then hopefully lower the insurance costs and provide some additional funding at the state to be able to offer us grants for that kind of work. Of course, that's the whole point of Vision Zero that the council has passed and found to be a priority. So the staff recommends that the city council supports House Bill 25-1303.
I'll move to support.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll move to support House Bill 2025-1303.
1303.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hidalgo Fairings, seconded by Councilor Christ, to move HB 25-1303. I do have a question which shows my ignorance a little bit, but how does it lower automobile insurance costs? So the insurance is still charging the same amount. We're just giving grants to the To who?
Well, if you think about it, it goes the other way, right? So when there's a huge hailstorm or the wildfires or any of those kinds of things, insurance went up for everybody in the state of Colorado, or at least those that were in that region. The same thing, presumably, I think is what this bill is assuming, would happen if we lowered those accidents and those crashes. So if we were able to provide infrastructure that lowered accidents and fatalities, the concept is that then the insurance could actually go down potentially.
Down as well.
Or maybe not increase as much, right?
Well, we're hoping the insurance company follows suit. All right, seeing no other questions, let's vote. And that carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'm going to stay here at the podium to pull up something that Councilmember Popkin was interested in showing, so you can just ignore me right here.
I see his light on, so I'm not going to call on him yet. Oh, Councilor Popkin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I'll be super quick. We heard in the sustainability presentation a reference to House Bill 25-1268 on the utility on-bill repayment program financing bill. I understand that it passed committee and would love for us to maybe have that come back to us at a future meeting.
That would be fine. Right now, it's a voluntary, it's opt-in for our municipality, so that's a good place to be. But yeah,
it's also going to be, I think, a really valuable tool for us. And we can decide based on how the bill is structured if we want to embrace those terms, if it's voluntary. But if it's structured well, I think it would be a really powerful bill for us to consider as a mechanism overall to actually try to achieve and finance those types of energy upgrades that we were talking about before. And if anyone has questions on how on-bill financing works, happy to address that offline.
Mayor Peck, I'll bring it back next time.
Sounds good. She's pulling something up.
Yeah, ignore the woman behind the podium.
Are you pulling up something for us to see?
Yeah, for later. We can
Yes.
continue.
During the
For
council
later.
comments.
Oh, I understand now. Okay. Well, it's now time for council comments.
No, final call public.
Oh, darn it. I was hoping Scott would not come up. No, I'm just teasing. Final call, public invited to be heard. Scott?
Mayor Peck, members of council, glad to disappoint. Scott Stewart, 229 Grant Street. I'm with Councilmember Yarborough, my Ward 2 representative. Councilmember Popkin has me thinking. First of all, you're going to enjoy the induction cooktop stuff. Give it a shot. It is not an electric cooktop. It is a totally different beast. It works in a different manner. Give it a little bit of time. I think you'll enjoy it. That's coming from, I got a beautiful gas range at home, and I'm having a hard time letting go too. But I have a portable induction cooktop that I can also use. I was listening to the energy efficiency stuff and what have you, and utility billing, and I'm a guy with a 35-year-old furnace in my house. It's a mechanical furnace. There's no lights and bells and whatever. I can get parts readily. It's easy as long as the heat exchanger's not broken. I plan to keep it. Yeah, it's not the most efficient thing, but I'm only heating the house for 4 months out of the year, and the cost-benefit analysis of buying a new one, it really doesn't pay off for me. That being said, I don't know how to compare myself to others. My house, my neighbor's house, my neighbor has a boiler, I have a furnace. One day my neighbor came to me and said, my gas bill was $400. I said, whoa, wait a minute. What? Went over, took a look at his boiler, and he had some heat deflectors that were not properly adjusted, and we did a little bit of tinkering with it, and next month he was $180 for his gas bill. That's just because I have a little bit of experience with this stuff. What I'd really like to understand is, I got a 1,200 square foot house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What's a utility bill for that size with 2 people living in there? You know, what are the variables here that are different? I'm going to be different. I got 2 electric cars and I've had them for 9 years, 7 and 9 years. So I'm all in on what you guys are trying to do. Rode my bicycle here tonight. I ride my bicycle here every night, and you know, I'm all in. But I'm not all in on changing my gas stove just yet. I'm not all in on replacing a furnace that functions properly. But if I could better understand what my neighbors' houses, similar houses, comped houses, is, you know, do I need to add more insulation? Because efficiency is really the first step. Is it going to help me to add more insulation? I'm also a landlord. I've got tenants that, you know, could use a new boiler in that house. But am I going to dump 15 grand into a rental property that I'm not going to see that return for 5 years? You know, the delta there is just not enough to make that investment. So I'd like to be more on board, but a little more data, and I don't know how you get it. Thanks and good night.
I would go to LPC.
Thanks. Thank you.
We are now at council comments. Councilor Hidalgo Faring.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So I wanted to mention, so last Sunday, and I'll let Councilmember Yarborough speak more to it. I did run a booth at the skills fair for the youth. So a seamstress friend of mine and I taught kids how to sew buttons. And it was amazing how the young men were just like all into that, and they did a really good job. I should have brought my clothes in that needed hemming and just put them all to work, because it could have gotten something done. So it was a great event. Thank you, Councilmember Yarborough, for presenting this, bringing this forward, and it's just, and all the staff that helped put this together. It was amazing. So, you know, I'd like to continue to see this coming along. The other thing is I'm going to be flying out to DC tomorrow, and I'll be back on Friday it's with the it's NWMCC Northwest Mayors and Commissioners Coalition. I remembered. And we'll be meeting with our congresspeople, representatives and senators, different committees to advocate for funding. I was not aware how many millions of dollars, $22.3 million, that the city of Longmont has in grants for transportation. So it would have disastrous effect if we lose this money in our goals and objectives for building safer streets, you know, along the 287 corridor, public transit, you know, all in Vision Zero. So all the things so I'm getting hot and heated, getting ready to go over there and advocate for our city.
Don't forget to advocate for the rail funding.
And the rail, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I got that. I was mentioning Longmont, but yes, no, I have all my talking points for that as well. Thank you.
Councilor Yarborough. Try it again.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to also congratulate staff who supported and helped to facilitate and organize the the second annual Life Skills Fair at the fairgrounds. And it was amazing. So I just wanted to make sure that, and it was also great to see Judge Frick out there showing people how to tie ties, and it was really nice to see that, and new equipment that the mayor and I saw and learned about what they're doing in the fire department and everything. So I learned a lot being there, actually. So I just wanted to tell staff, I know all the hard work leading up to it, it was a lot, and it was very successful, so I appreciate that. And also thank you, Susie, for tabling, because she barely had a break. Those kids were loving it. Also, real quick, I wanted to mention that the summer internship, when we first started this, we had 5 applicants. That was 3 years ago, right, Sandy? Yes. Now we have 16 applicants. So I want to say every year it's getting larger, bigger, and bigger. So thank you again to staff and to my co-counselors for agreeing to having this internship, summer internship. Last thing I want to say is I had this, and I talked to our city manager about it. It was an idea, and I think I was supposed to be talking to Lindsay, but I wanted to bring it up to my co-counselors as well. And Councilor Popkin actually stole my thunder. He didn't know it. But I would love to, and it could just be me, once a month during farmers market season to be out at the farmers market as city council and bring resources, have resources out there, maybe have an iPad or something like that to show people the indicators and show them the dashboards and things like that. And if it's just once a month, I could be out there just during that season, except for when my daughter graduates in September from London for her master's. But we hear so often that people, our constituents say that, I didn't know you all did that. I didn't know that that was there. I didn't know. And I think that would be, I think that's a great opportunity. And I'm putting myself out there, even if it's just me for once a month. I just need the resources to be able to show people and maybe have a list where people can, if they have questions of what department, we just have them to leave their email address, phone number, and all of that, and then I can turn that back into the city so that you all can contact them. So anyway, I just want to put that out there, and if I'm able to do that, then that would be fantastic. And if any of my counselors want to do that with me once a month, that'd be awesome too.
I'd do it.
Thank you.
Okay, I turned some, Pumpkin.
I respond to all of that. First of all, Councilmember Yarborough, challenge extended. Cooking with Council, let's do it. It's on, and you can set the menu. Of course. Yeah, and then we'll take it on. Maybe we got to get like Gordon Ramsay in this and something like that, and really make it a competition. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay, it's on. Let's do it. Happy to join you at the farmers market situation there. Maybe we can do a Cooking with Council at the market. So that reminds me, I will
be singing.
I will be the entertainment at this weekend's farmers market on Saturday from 10 to 1 at the fairgrounds. So if you're not busy or planning to be there anyway, get some local shopping done. Avoid heckling is welcome. I will be off duty from council, on duty for my side job there, but bringing the entertainment for this weekend, and I have 2 more dates later in the spring as well. So I hope to see you there. Just a quick FYI for staff. I know we didn't talk through the calendar of upcoming meetings, but on the Cooking with Council reminded me of the Coffee with Council on the 19th, where I'm supposed to be joining Mayor Peck. I think maybe something's gotten lost in translation, but I'm actually out of town that weekend. So I just wanted to flag that it's nothing personal to Mayor Peck, but
Councilmember Popkin, Councilmember Yarborough went ahead and decided to take your place. So
excellent.
Thank you very much.
Hadn't seen that change on the invite, so just wanted to or on the calendar, so I wanted to make sure we're aligned. Thank you. And then lastly, I have a annual tradition I've done for 6 years on my birthday, which is to try to run my age in miles. This year I did my age in kilometers this morning. And I wanted to throw the map up on the screen because a picture paints 1,000 words. This was my route today around Longmont. And wanted to just note as a compliment to everyone working on transportation connectivity in this space, this was all on foot and 95% was on sidewalks or multi-use trails. Very rarely had to actually be in the street. So
I'm
just
no longer going to complain about walking down the hall to the copyright.
so just wanted to note how well connected. If you want to do a loop, I know we're still filling in gaps there, and there are a couple gaps that I learned of on my route today because I'd never done this before. But I know we're still filling in gaps in different places and kind of within neighborhoods too. But we are very quickly building out a really robust connected system, at least on a pedestrian level. And always the goal is to make it safer and think about all the different modes, bikes, pedestrian cars, scooters, whatever that we're using these days. But just a testament to all the work that has been done to date, and just wanted to share that.
You have way too much energy.
That was 34 kilometers there.
So, it's my turn, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So you stole my thunder because I was at the opening for the farmers market Saturday, and I was going to say, by the way, next Saturday, but I won't do that. So I have something I need to ask council. You don't need to answer me now. I can't do it any other time other than pre-session because of the sunshine law. So Casey Hedrick, who is the CEO of the Early Childhood Council of Boulder County, talked to me. There, she has a panel of people, diverse people, who are trying to figure out childcare in the county, and she said she needs Longmont at the table. If you can email me. You don't need to say anything tonight if somebody wants to be on that council or that panel. I do have some thoughts about it, but I don't want to share them now because it's time to leave. And so let me know if anybody wants to sit on that council. Just let me know, and then I would like to talk to you beforehand. We are now at city manager's remarks.
Comments, Mayor and Council.
City attorney?
No comments, Mayor?
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Chris, that we adjourn. All those in favor? Scream. Aye. So that passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.